Once again, we are in a new location, and this is a first at the Beauties Sports Desk. Here's another episode of Beers with Beauties.
Doesn't matter if you got Coors, Busch, Bud Light, or a local shop's IPA. All beers are welcome at Beers and Beauties, baby. Let's go.
So today is a first because not only do we have somebody on the show that has coached, has a profession, and is also my father-in-law and the first guy we have had at the Beauties Sports Desk, Rob Abbott. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good, Addie. Thank you. I got to tell you, this. I was really looking forward to this. When you asked me, nervous, of course. I was wondering, is this something I want to do? But when I thought about it, I really do believe that me and you started doing this a long time ago.
I was going to say, this is actually like our 20th podcast. Sitting on this actual couch, actually.
Yeah, we've had some late nights doing this for sure.
So there's so many different, like we were talking before the show, angles that we can take when it comes to sports that we've talked about. You know, you've got 3 kids, all that were involved with sports. You've coached at all different levels. Your job is in sports. We're watching a hockey game right now. It's clearly a huge part of our lives. But I think one disclosure we have to say right off the bat is that you got a little bit of a Newfie accent.
Yes, I do. That's right.
I married into a Newfie family, and I had to learn the language here. So it is a Beers with Beauties episode, so full disclosure, the more deep we get with them, we might have to do a little vocabulary session.
It might get worse.
So did you always know that when you were going through sports and, you know, playing from a young age that you wanted to get into coaching, or was it, you know, something that you kind of grew to love?
You know, it's funny. Obviously, like everybody else, I grew up just playing all the time. So it didn't matter what it was. I was out there playing baseball, hockey, whatever. But I was really young when I got the opportunity to start coaching. I started coaching when I was only 15 years old, and I ran minor baseball in a small community called Port in Newfoundland, and I did that for the last 2 years of high school, and for my first 3 years of university. So I was coaching really, really young, and I mean, I was ultra competitive.
Yeah.
So it was like playing. I mean, I loved to play. And because I was competitive, I wanted to win. And I loved to coach because I was competitive and I wanted to win.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I always knew I wanted to coach. And when the hockey career I knew was over, and I learned that too young that I wasn't going to be in the show. When that happened, I just said, my God, the next career is I want to be a phys ed teacher. I can play all day long. And still be involved in sports and still coach. And so I think I always knew.
Yeah,
I always knew that this was something. And you know what? It's like anything else. If you think you're good at something, you probably want to continue doing it. And I always felt like that was something I was good at.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, full disclosure, we're at my house, and the lovely dog that you hear right now is Jojo, and we love him, but he is a bit annoying right now, and we're just going to keep rolling with it. Yeah. But I think that that's one of the things that the conversations that are happening a lot more and more with young athletes is, how do we make sports a lifelong thing? Why are we just talking about sports from, the time you graduate? It's like, we should be, if you love it and you want to pursue it at a high level, you should be looking at all the different avenues that you can take for an entire career of it, right?
For sure. You look at why beer leagues are, still so popular, right? And it starts when you're 15 and 16 and you become a part of a team. It doesn't matter what it is, and you have that camaraderie and stuff that goes with being a part of it. That never leaves. No matter what level you're playing at, and it doesn't matter what sport it is. If you're a part of something, you have that, and you don't want to let that go.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive a little bit more into you growing up and you have 3 brothers. So the competitive nature in that household, I can just imagine, was ridiculous.
Yes. Yeah.
And you got a twin.
Yep.
So competitive ultra.
Yeah, I guess I was obviously like way more into sports than they were. They were competitive too, but they had other interests that I didn't have. Everything for me revolved around sports. They were just as good at sports as I was. They just didn't have the same passion for it as I did. But when we played, whether it was road hockey or we played on a team together, yeah, it was always competitive, and most games ended that were not organized ended with us fighting. So I mean, it's the way you grew up, right? It was just so much fun to just play and the boys, I mean, they loved it too. Don't get me wrong, they did. It's just for me, it was my entire life.
Yeah, for sure. So now because obviously all different sports, all growing up in Newfoundland, and now you're dad, obviously, of 2 daughters and a son.
That's where it all goes. That's where it all goes sour.
That's where it all happens.
Yeah, that's where it all goes sour because, I look back at all those experiences. I know, growing up how competitive I was and all the things I didn't, you do so many things that you shouldn't do, right? Because you want to win so bad. And I remember my dad telling me a couple of times, if you do that ever again, you're never playing hockey again. So, and then I think, okay, you're a father now. You wouldn't do that as a father, but man, my God, did I ever make some mistakes? I still wonder sometimes why Tara kept playing hockey. Yeah. Right? Like she must have. But yeah, I think she saw it for what it was. She knew that, I really always wanted the best for her, obviously, and wanted her to be the best at everything and be competitive like me and be successful. And yeah, sometimes as a dad, it went a little overboard, went a little too far.
Right, competitive, just stuck with it. Because I do think that is one of the things, that she talks about a lot is like that natural competitive nature growing up. And I think that's something all 3 of your children have, is a competitive edge to them.
Yes. And I mean, obviously I've grown up with time and it got better, and don't get me wrong, I wasn't that bad. But, I think about all these tiny little times that, you make these little mistakes and you say to yourself, you know what, why did you act like that? Or why did you do that, right? And that doesn't happen anymore, obviously. You grow up and you realize, yeah, that probably wasn't the way to be, but they're super competitive. They grew up that way, and it was a lot of fun.
For sure. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm excited to have you on, as our first guy, but there's this conversation around the dad perspective of female sports that I find is fascinating, because there is that interesting dynamic around that word compete and being competitive, and people feeling that it just naturally happens with boys, when in my perspective, competitive nature is really, it's taught at a young age regardless of gender, right? And I've seen it at so many different levels. Really.
Yeah. And when I grew up, like playing minor hockey and minor ball, and when I was coaching, there wasn't any girls playing. Mm-hmm. Right? You didn't have I ran Mosquito, so baseball, kids who are 6 years of age, up to kids who are 16 years of age. And at that time, not one girl registered in minor baseball. Not one. And minor hockey, same thing. I don't remember a girl playing hockey when I played. So, moving forward, now Tara's playing hockey. And when Tara started playing hockey, she was playing hockey. So I don't know when it changed to where she was playing girls hockey. Mm-hmm. Where did it change? And I mean, we signed her up. We signed her up to play hockey.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, and that was the mentality for girls who were registered in minor hockey as she went through. You just kept hearing the word, you should play girls hockey, or they're playing girls hockey. And I always wondered why we had to distinguish between, hockey for boys or hockey for girls, because we didn't call it boys hockey.
Yeah. And there's two things that I think of when you say that, because it's like, how amazing is it for you to sit back and actually see the progression of female athletics, saying, there was no girls playing.
That's right.
To now crazy leagues absolutely everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, and look at the talent.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
And look at the compete level.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I wish Tara was here and we could talk about her days playing hockey with Flin Flon DePauw, and myself and this absolutely super guy from DePauw, Andre Murphy. He was the main coach, and I was kind of helping him out. But this guy, he had, the girls were playing hockey, right? I mean,
yeah.
And they were playing competitive hockey, and they were going to do whatever they could do to win. Now, I mean, we got into the city, and sometimes we played against teams that were, a little ahead of us overall. But yeah, no, we never went into a game thinking we couldn't win. And that was the mentality that Andre put on these. You know what? We're playing hockey, and we're going to compete.
And I think that that's such a good point in the way of it's distinguished differently because of gender, not because of compete level or quality or talent. And then as soon as you separate the two and people just assume, okay, well, now it's girls hockey, make sure they get the pink helmets, or it's girls baseball, make sure they get the pink glove, and, let them know that it's all for fun and it's all this. It's, of course sports is for fun. Of course it is. Being competitive is fun. There's no part of it that isn't fun. But there's this level of like, as soon as you classify it under that at such a young age, it seems to be like, oh, well, it's just girls hockey. Or sports in general, because there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are all different sports, right?
Yeah.
So it seems to be that it's a mentality that if girls heard it at a younger age, it would just become the acceptable way of doing it, because I feel that too. Every time that I go somewhere and it's like, oh, well, we're running a female clinic, it's like, okay, well, you can have this and this. And it's like, no, we're here to run a clinic. Like, we are here to make sure that these girls are getting better, and it's competitive, and they're working hard, and they're understanding the benefits of working hard. But for some reason, it's like, when it's girls hockey or girls' sports in general in youth, it's like now classified as fun, not competitive.
Yeah. And when we were coming up through, as like when I think about Tara coming through the system, you'd get involved in some games where, you had the right person officiating the game, and that person understood that these kids were playing hockey.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you get into other games and you had the wrong person officiate the game, and that person thought, well, they're playing girls hockey.
Oh.
And somehow it was different, And I think, I mean, well, you would have done the same thing. You probably played boys hockey for.
Yeah, until bantam.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
right.
and Tara, and it wasn't a choice, it was the only league. There wasn't, we were in Flin Flon, Stephenville. There was only enough to have, a couple of teams. So the boys and girls played together. Right. So that's just the way it was. We didn't have that opportunity. So it was only when myself and Andre combined girls from Flin Flon, DePauw, and Snow Lake, and Thompson, and we put them all together, and we met in DePauw for practice and played it. We had enough girls to have our own team and compete as a team. And I mean, hockey started for Tara then.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You know, like I said, it goes back to that same thing. You're talking about building a team, and because let's face it, I mean, the stories, the things that were said towards girls who are playing hockey were not just said by kids, right?
Oh no.
Right? They were
Yeah.
said by parents.
Yeah.
Parents said it, their kids heard it. So this was it. So when we finally got away from that, and you get on a team where everybody feels the same way about everybody else, and the message is that we're a team together. You know, you're not a girl playing on a boys' team.
Yeah. So what was it like watching your daughter go through the minor hockey system compared to your son?
Oh my God. Well, so it's kind of funny because I mean we had, like, Braden is quite a bit younger, right?
Right.
So it was like we had a family, and then and 12 years later we decided to start a second one. So I used to say to people, when we finally had Braden, we've kind of figured out, or at least I figured out, I can't say we, I figured out that, the way I was with the girls probably wasn't the best way when it came to sports. And so I didn't make as many mistakes with Braden. So, but going through with Braden, it was, I mean, he was accepted as a player when he was just started. Even though when he just started, he was no better than Tara when Tara just started. Matter of fact, Tara might even have been a little bit better than he was when they first started, Mm-hmm. And then, but he was treated differently because he was a boy, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Tara went to the room, and the kids didn't really, especially when they started teams and novice and stuff like that, it wasn't good.
Yeah,
But you still had those, that mentality that you're a girl. Right,
Yeah.
Even for kids who are 5 and 6 years old, because
Yeah.
and girls don't play hockey.
And isn't it wild that it's like, and you're a girl, so it automatically goes into this category, and that's why I think this conversation of the dad, like the parent perspective of kids going through minor, because all the parents listening to this episode would agree with you, and all the parents that I've had the pleasure of getting to know over the years say the same things. And it's like the common theme that I keep going back to over and over again is that we need to start talking to female athletes the exact same from the time that they walk in the rink. They're not, just because girls walk into a dressing room this way and boys walk into a dressing room that way doesn't mean good and bad. It means girls and boys, and then athletes walk out.
Yeah.
Not the good athletes and the bad athletes. Yeah. And I just feel this sense of like segregation, even though based off gender, we will never be the same. You are a man, I am a woman. Our competitive nature towards sports is no different.
No.
Right? It's like, when are we going to be able to get over this?
You think with Billie Jean King we wouldn't have learned? But
that's
no,
right.
But me and you had this conversation, I don't know how many years ago, Addie, we talked about the difference between individual sports like golf,
right,
and tennis, and how is it that those sports we accept it, like in an individual sport like that, we accepted them as being on the same level. Like it's, as when it comes to an individual, you look at the Olympics, mm-hmm. If you win the 100 meter in both the men and the women, you won the 100 meter. You didn't get, what's her name? Jackie Joyner Jr. or
yeah.
what was that? Jackie Joyner Jr. or something like that. I mean, you look at her, right? I mean, my God, she was probably one of the most celebrated sprinters of all time with the men, mm-hmm. right? So, but we come back to team sports. We come back to sports that are supposed to be,
right. Yeah, like it, and that, like, even that whole conversation of individual sports versus team sports just is a wild one in itself too. Like the fact that I get the money is easier because it's one person and they're all competing and all that kind of stuff. Totally. But it seems as though it just seems for some reason harder to catch up with team sports, which makes no sense when you've got, like, you're a huge Montreal Canadiens fan and the PHF just expanded into Montreal for women's hockey with the Montreal Force. And it's like, well, you're going into one of the biggest hockey markets ever. Like, how could that not be sold out every single game?
Yeah.
Because Montreal loves hockey.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. They just love hockey.
Yeah.
But who knows? It's right. They're still in preseason. They haven't even had a regular season game yet. But just the conversation of as if that would even have to be a question.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just came from a hockey tournament now where you got to see some pretty high level hockey, right? So, and I walk into the rink, I go to see your first game here in your league. You're playing, who was it you guys played there the other day?
Winnipeg Ice.
The Winnipeg Ice, yeah.
Yep.
And the first thing I noticed right off the bat, I'm a hockey fan, was how fast the game was and how little time the players had on the ice. Right off the bat. Now you went and seen it at another level. You went and seen it at another level just this past weekend. But that's what I saw. So I saw that at this level. I saw girls competing so hard, and I saw very little time and space on the ice. Now I could go back and tell you what boys hockey was like in Flin Flon, and I can tell you there was a lot more space on the ice than what I saw. So it is what it is. It's all relative, I guess. But there's no, like you said, there's no reason for us to separate the difference between where a female or can compete regardless of what the sport is versus a boy. I mean, everybody can compete at a really, really high level, and the first step is 1,000%. Making them believe that they can, right? Letting them know they can. And that should 1,000% be the storyline, for all kids. Yeah.
From day one, regardless of gender, it should be you can dream as big as you want in the sports world, and you can go as far as you want in the sports world.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
And you can be as competitive as you want, and you can go as hard as you want. And sometimes you're going to make mistakes, like, where you get your stick up a little high and your dad tells you do that one more time, you're not playing hockey no more. Whether you're a boy or a girl. That's right.
The threats are still the same.
Absolutely. They don't change. Oh, I mean, I could tell you that story. Now, have you told that story before? So you talk about competitive. So this is a great one because as a dad, I shouldn't be proud. My wife Kim, she wasn't as proud. But we go into a rink and it's a house league game in Flin Flon. I believe it was bantam hockey. I'm pretty sure it must have been bantam. And so Tara's playing, and Tara's a good player. She's playing with there's two other girls, I think, in the house league, and the rest are all boys. And she's playing with a couple of really good players, AA caliber players on the boys on the same line, and they're hogging the puck, and she's wide open, a few times, not getting the puck. And so she's skating on the wing, and she's asking for the puck, and guy doesn't pass the puck, and then all of a sudden she goes offside, and then she yells out, "Pass the explicitive," the puck, and thankfully there was like three of us in the rink, but people outside could probably hear, right? And I'm like, oh my God, that's one of those moments you say, okay, maybe Tara, maybe you shouldn't have said it that loud. Maybe you shouldn't have used that word, but hey, I get it. What I saw there was somebody who was competing, and wanted to compete, and it was kind of taken away from her, not because she wasn't a good player.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Taken away from her because she was a girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't pass to the girl.
Yeah.
Things
Don't pass
will
to the girl.
slow down when you pass it to the girl. Yeah.
And needless to say, it quickly changed.
Yeah. The hockey, the one thing that I can't wait for her to listen to this episode, but the hockey IQ to just be like, I know that he can't go past this line without me. If I step over this line, he needs me.
And don't get me wrong, these were two really nice kids. Like they were two really, really good players, competitive kids, but all they saw was each other, right?
Yeah.
They didn't see anybody else. And so she had to get her message across. She was just as competitive as they were, and she got her message across.
I love it. So going from dad now to coach. So I'm pretty sure you've coached everything under the sun.
Yes.
I was trying to think of one thing that you haven't coached, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Basketball, volleyball,
Golf, soccer, cross country, running, track, volleyball, basketball, badminton, you name it, hockey, baseball. Yeah, I coached it all. And you know, what's really funny is, you know, when people say, okay, you coach because you know, your kids play sports, right? And I had a full coaching career long before I had kids.
Yeah.
You know, I coached hockey, baseball, and that for years before I had any kids, because obviously I was ultra competitive, and you know, when I learned that I wasn't good enough to to continue in that kind of competitive environment, I wanted to do it as a coach.
And I loved being a player, and I loved working with people and competing and, you know, the grind of the travel and all these things. But I have never been more fulfilled in sports than coaching kids. I've never felt like that complete feeling of seeing something that you used to do, or, you know, that you had some success with, and then passing it down and seeing someone else have success with it. Like, I'm also addicted to that feeling. It is the coolest feeling in the entire world. But I do also feel that it takes a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. And I feel like it's one of the things that we could really improve on as a collective is getting people back into coaching, specifically girls.
Yeah, and it's getting harder and harder. Like for example, school sports now. I mean, there's so many, right? There's
Right.
And right now for if you're not in a situation where your family is making a lot of money, a lot of the other sports that are out there that are not school sports are sometimes too expensive,
Right.
for you to compete at a high level. You can take part in them, don't get me wrong, but some of them are quite expensive. So, but school sports there's always that opportunity if you're good enough, right?
Right.
You know, money doesn't necessarily become a part of it. There's lots of different programs to help to support that and stuff like that. So, yeah, so you can compete and be a part of those programs. For me, that was awesome, right? You know, I mean, but still, you know, I'm ultra competitive. I think about it as a coach. You said, okay, we need to get more coaches involved, but we need coaches, not just a coach. We need coaches to learn how to coach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because I think back, oh my God, Addie, I don't have to go back too far. to all the mistakes I made as a coach.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You know, and you know, it's and I've been doing it for, well, like I said, since 15 years old, and constantly learning, constantly trying to get better, you know, but 1,000%, we need to get more people involved in coaching yeah.
Yeah, like I think there's such so we talk a lot about like the way that we talk to kids at a young age about sports and about, you know, a competitive edge. But I do believe that boys and girls learn different in the way of, and I've said this a couple times on the show, is that boys compete to be respected, where girls need to be respected before they compete. Yeah. So I do think that there is a level of knowledge and understanding we do have to have when we are coaching different genders, but the consistency within the competitive message does not change.
Does not change.
It's just the way it's delivered.
1,000%. For example, I've coached every sport in high school, and there is no doubt about it. If you're teaching a brand new skill to two different genders, male and female, it's been my experience, and it's not always, but it's been my experience that the new skill if it's brand new to both genders, it's easier, in my experience, to teach the girl than it is the boy. In so many different ways. And why is that? Well, people say that they listen better, they pay more attention. I don't know what it is, but there are significantly different levels of how kids learn. But when it comes down to the compete level, that doesn't change at all.
Yeah.
It's what I mean. I've coached extremely competitive girls, and I've coached extremely competitive boys.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I've coached equally not very competitive boys and equally not very competitive girls. So that message shouldn't change, but for sure, it's important to know that there are differences.
Yeah, and I just think back to so many like stories where I would be, they'd want me to come out and do a power skating session with a group, and I'd hear over and over again, girls, it's okay. This is just for fun. Like, don't stress about it. Like, it's not like you're going to the NHL. It's not, you're the big leagues. And here's the hard part with that conversation is they don't mean anything by it. They are trying to be supportive, and they're trying to make sure that they're doing the absolute best that they can in the situation to get that young female athlete to keep doing whatever skill it is. But with that conversation, all it's saying is that there's no end game.
Yeah.
There is no end game for you. Where it's like boys will hear, and if we're just using hockey as the example again, like, don't worry, Sidney Crosby had to do this over and over and over again before he got it right. And look where he is now.
Yeah.
Don't you ever quit.
Yeah.
Where it's like, don't worry, girls, you can screw up. It's fine. This is just for fun. And it's like those small little conversations that just have compound interest over years. You hear it when you're 4, 5, 6, 7. By the time you get to 8, it's like you've already heard it for 4 years that this is where, when Harry was born, he was drafted to the NFL before he left the building.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just the conversations that we naturally hear throughout society. And for me, that is the biggest key in switching the perspective that young girls have about moving forward with athletics.
Yeah. Yeah. You throw like a girl.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay. So I laugh at this so much because, I mean, I was, like I said, I was coaching ball when I was 15 years old, and there was no girls playing. And I think when I was in my mid-30s, I had the opportunity to go watch the World Softball Championships for women in St. John's, Newfoundland. And I was never so blown away. Right? I was never so blown away. And yeah, okay, you throw like a girl. Yeah, you throw like you throw because you've never thrown before. Because I wish I could throw like some of those girls threw. I mean, there were girls pitching like 90 miles an hour underhand, fast pitch, right? They were whipping the ball around that diamond. And softball has been like that since forever. For both boys and girls, right? Like forever. Like the World Championships, like whether it's the U.S. or Canada, whoever. Like for years, they've teams like that have dominated. They've had those skills for years. But we still use. Yeah, you throw like a girl.
You throw like a girl, not like a girl. Don't hit like a girl. It's like, oh my gosh, when are we gonna get over it?
Yeah.
When are we gonna get over it? And I'm gonna call whoever makes those pink helmets and like those pink gloves and the pink hockey sticks. And I get it. It's cute. It is what it is. But there's a symbol that goes along with it. There's the girl.
Yeah.
Because there's no parents buying their boy a pink helmet. No. Like it just is. There's a societal push at a young age too that we also have to combat in those conversations. Because I was with a group of parents not that long ago, and the NWSL women's soccer is like through the roof right now. It's so big, and the championship game is coming up here between Kansas City and Portland, and Kansas City has Desiree Scott, who's a Manitoba born and raised.
Yeah.
Nobody here probably knows that. And she is on the biggest stage right now. Consistently throughout the playoffs, they have had, I'd say, 25 to 30,000 people at their games. 20,000 to 30,000 people at their games. And I'll still have people be like, well, no one watches. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? What is happening here? Like, how have we gotten so disconnected? Because even you just made me think about that with the Women's College World Series that happens in Oklahoma. Like 80,000 people show up to watch those women, and they are unbelievable.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And why is soccer going that now? Like I said, you're obviously following it way better, way more than I am, and unfortunately, I'm not getting to watch no sports lately.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like, but the women's under 17, right? The World's going on right now, right? They're drawing great crowds, getting, I think, pretty good TV coverage on it right now and stuff like that. So soccer is taking a step for sure. I'm not watching under 17 boys right now.
Right.
I don't remember it getting this kind of coverage. So that's a step in the right direction, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's all sports, and it's 1,000% the message that we're sending, right? It starts 1,000% with taking away the label first, the girls' label. I think that's where it has to start. It's hockey, it's soccer, right? And it's if you're a boy, you play in this league, and if you're a girl, you play in this league.
Because I think we've also had this conversation legit on this couch, like not that long ago, of if it was NHL male division, female division, and then it just filtered underneath and it was all even, how that would drastically change
For sure.
the way that people watch and
For sure.
and the way that people can, because I think, well, especially with social media, and like they say, like the average attention span of going through your social media is like 7 seconds. So if you don't catch what's going on in 7, it's gone. But if you could put NHL men's and women's divisions in the same line, because that's how your brain works. It categorizes gold at the top and bronze at the bottom.
NBA and WNBA, right? I mean, it's to me, it's the same thing. Like I'm not saying I have the answer. I don't know what, but I just don't know why there's a need to distinguish between the two. Mm-hmm. It's the NBA. It's the NBA. It's the NBA for men, and it's the NBA for women.
Yeah.
But it's the NBA.
That's right.
National Basketball Association. So, I mean, you watch it all the time, and they're playing at a level equal to the guys when it comes to shooting, right?
It's so good.
Their ball handling skills are right.
Yeah.
Everything about the game is high level, and we've been saying this about obviously the top 2 hockey programs, but we could go back to any Olympics and look at any top athlete in any particular sport. Mm-hmm. And we've been able to celebrate these people for decades, men and women equally.
Yeah.
But when it's not an Olympic season, when it's not an Olympic sport, all of a sudden, it's different.
Yeah.
If you are a girl and this is what this is how you're looked at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it changes if you're an Olympic athlete. But my son, he's not an Olympic athlete, but he's looked at as a hockey player.
Yeah.
Even though he's only playing junior B hockey in Beausejour.
Yeah.
Right? He's looked at as a hockey player. And I mean, it is what it is. It's something that's not changing fast enough.
And that's a good point. It's something that's not changing fast enough because let's just because this, I think we've taught it too about the sports bra, like the sports bar that opened up that only plays women's sports on TV.
Okay. No, I don't know if we had this discussion.
We for sure have. I'll remind you of it. But
was that after too many?
That was probably after too many.
Okay.
That's when the new Newfie accent came in hot. And it was it's this woman that started this bar that is called the Sports Bra, and it only plays women's athletics. And it's now just absolutely taken off. Like, everybody's asking her to franchise, Beauty Sports being one of them.
Nice.
Beauty Sports wants in with the Sports Bra, but it's one of those things that when you give an opportunity for people to watch it, they're taking full advantage of it. Their bar is full constantly, and not only that, now the owner, and I'm sure it looks like by their social media, they're getting VIP tickets to all the sporting events because it's like they went all in. They said, we are women's sports. So I wonder, as a guy who's really into sports, if you're clicking through the channel, like the guide on TV, and you're wanting to watch golf and it's LPGA, do you genuinely think people won't click on it because it says LPGA? Well,
see, now for me, I look at, it doesn't matter what sport it is, right? But if that sport is doing anything to promote any of their athletes, that's what I see. So if I turn the channel, for example, and Lydia Ko is on the leaderboard, it doesn't have to be Brooke Henderson, right? If she's on the leaderboard, I'm watching.
Yeah.
If I'm watching the PGA Tour, if it's some Joe Blow that I don't know, I'm not watching. So it doesn't matter whether it's men or women, and that's the difference. That's why it's unbelievable to me when I think about the elite athletes that the WNBA have had over the years, right? And the level that they played at, and how little marketing we've done with them, right? We talked about Captain Canada, right? So after a couple of golden goals, and now she gets onto a couple of commercials and stuff like that. Like, my God, shouldn't she have been on commercials all over the place? And not just her. I mean, so many of those girls, we just don't market. So we don't market our elite athletes, and if we don't market the elite ones, then you don't have that reason to follow. But yet, Olympics comes around. What happens during the Olympics, right? Anybody who is expected to medal gets marketed. And that's why it doesn't matter whether it's male or female sports, doesn't matter what it is. It could be, you pick a sport, and we're all going to tune in. Yeah. We're all going to tune in to watch the one that everybody expects to win gold, silver, or bronze.
That's so interesting because, like you say, even with your reference to the PGA, like if it's somebody you don't know, you don't watch, and it kind of is like you.
I could care less.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rory's back to number one, right? I haven't been following. He must have won a tournament recently. I've just been working too much lately, but I would have tuned into that, right? And if Lydia Ko, I'm Michelle Wee. My God, if Michelle Wee, if she ever made a comeback, I mean, for the golfing world, everybody would watch. They'd watch not quite like Tiger, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would. They'd watch Michelle Wee more than they'd probably watch Rory McIlroy. They would. That's how big she was at the time. Oh God, what's her name?
Nelly Korda.
Yeah, okay, right?
Wow.
I mean, come on.
I know. She's unbelievable.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, she could beat a lot of men. Right? There's no doubt she could play at that level.
Yeah.
Even in the male game because of how far she hits the ball. But, and everybody knows who she is. But do we market her like we market?
And I totally agree with what you're saying, because even when you look at it from the perspective of any sport, you can have perfect references back and forth, because in WNBA, obviously now everybody and their dog is going to be watching to see what WNBA team gets Paige Beckers.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know where she is going to end up, and it is because she is being marketed. Yep. Same with Azzi Fudd, who's been, signed by Steph Curry, and, the integration. So it's like, it almost seems like the notoriety of individual athletes among teams almost trumps the actual sport, because in soccer, Sam Kerr, who is on the, the cover of the whatever sports, I've played 0 video games in my life. So the video game cover for soccer has Sam Kerr on it, and you can't go anywhere without seeing Sam Kerr. And it's like, how could it's almost to that point of you Pittsburgh Penguins you didn't know anybody before Sidney Crosby was on there. It's almost like the individual athletes among team sports need to be chosen to really get it to that next level.
But I think that's what I'm saying. I think you could market, like, honest to God. Okay, so Sid Finch. You know who Sid Finch is? No. All right. So if you grew up in the 1980s, Sports Illustrated, April Fools, they put this guy, Sid Finch, throws the ball 150 miles an hour on the cover. You never heard of that story yet?
No.
All right, so they marketed this guy on Sports Illustrated. Anybody who knew anything knew it was a April Fool's joke right from the beginning. Mm-hmm. But anybody who wasn't following it, they actually thought that there was this guy, Sid Finch, threw the ball 150 miles an hour. Everybody wanted to watch him play, and they marketed him once on sports. He's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So we took like just some April Fool's joke, and we marketed this guy for 5 minutes, basically. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and everybody was talking about this guy. And anybody who didn't know, I mean, I remember people asking me, have you heard about this guy who throws the ball 150 miles an hour, Sid Finch? Who didn't realize it was an April Fool's joke, right? So that's how it doesn't have to be Tiger Woods, and you don't have to be Mario Lemieux or Sidney Crosby, right? I mean, if you market somebody at any particular sport, if you get their name and face out there for whatever reason, because the guy has the best hair in the world,
right?
Oh
yeah.
I mean, because you market them for any reason whatsoever, people are gonna want to watch.
Oh yeah.
Right? We just don't do a good enough job marketing our female athletes. There's no doubt about it. We do for the Olympics. We market our men and women basically the same, as long as they're got a chance to win a medal.
Yeah, as long as they're going to
or they're the best in our country.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
They're going to podium or something, right?
Yeah,
they're going to have that conversation.
Yeah,
that's right.
But we don't do it for we got a national women's soccer team right now that, we just came off of, right?
Yeah.
And what have we done since then to market those players?
No, I could not agree more. And what they have been able to pull off is unheard of.
Yeah.
Unheard of. Yeah. Going from a bronze to a gold.
Yeah.
In one Olympic. Yeah. When they weren't even in the running, the Team Canada women's soccer, to even get that bronze, and then in an Olympic cycle to be able to go from in 2 Olympic cycles to not being heard of to gold. Yeah, that is unheard of.
Yeah, but I guarantee you we've done a lot more for the men's program. That's because everybody knows who the top 3 players are on the men's program, right? And we're going to go and everybody's thought, I don't know, maybe we'll do better than what I'm expecting, but it's great that we're going to be there, but I think we're going.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, it's so true. It's so true. And to just even have that conversation, and we've talked about it a ton too, of how we need to start doing the same, like essentially what happens with the World Juniors for the boys. Like the World Juniors for the boys, it puts all those boys on a stage that is like no other. They are marketed to the 10th degree. Everybody knows who they are. Everybody sits around their TV.
We go into their houses. We meet their families.
That's right.
We meet their brothers. We meet their sisters.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's so true.
We get to find out like who their favorite player is growing up. We get to know, before they drop the puck, we are the biggest fans of players we didn't know. We didn't know the day before. We are their biggest fans. We're their biggest fans, and we'll tune in. And I'm sorry, they have never done anything like that for the Women's World Championships. I've never got to learn any of the players like that.
Yeah, the only girl that I've ever seen, and it was very recent, that I felt like, holy man, I'm really seeing a lot of this girl, was Sarah Fillier.
Yeah.
That was the only player that I was like, okay, they're starting to put a little bit of oomph into Sarah Fillier, and obviously it's because she's incredible.
Yeah.
But it's like, why are we not doing that with all the? And this is the part that gets like all the girls that Sarah Fillier plays with. Like, you don't think they're remotely in the same caliber? Like Sarah Fillier met a need that Hockey Canada needed in the Olympics, but it's like Sarah Fillier is playing with a bunch of Emma Maltese. They're all playing with girls away from the Olympic program. Like there is so much talent out there that we don't even know. Yeah. And you're right. They literally bring you into their homes. Yeah. I never even thought about it like that before.
No, absolutely. It's amazing, right? We can't wait. I mean, we can't wait. It's the one thing we're not going to miss is the introduction to.
That's right.
To the lineup. Like we can't wait to see it. We want to know who's on it. We want to know all about them, right? And that's what makes us tune in. I'm telling you, because if it was just a group of kids, playing and you didn't have like know that Connor Bedard was going to be there, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, look. I mean, Shane Wright. I mean, he's a bust right now, but like everybody couldn't wait to see him play. Yeah. Right? And I mean, COVID was bad, but everybody knew who he was. Yeah. Right? And
Owen Power. Yeah,
absolutely.
like they were just all over him. That's so true. And I do believe that next phase of understanding, because it's just that people will watch what they know and what they feel comfortable with. And one person that's absolutely crushing it right now is Sarah Nurse. Yeah. She is absolutely everywhere. And now people feel so connected to the sport and to her and the game. And, she's doing such a phenomenal job of growing it. It's like, if we can do that amplified times, 50, it would change everything.
And it's nothing about her as a hockey player, right? Because it was nothing. Like, I mean, what's his name in Anaheim?
Zegras.
I mean, oh my God, how could I forget his name? Yeah. I mean, right now, there's no player in the NHL I want to see more successful right now.
Yeah, that's right.
I wanna watch him. I want to see him do the craziest stuff. And I'm telling you, the reason why I like him has nothing to do with him as a hockey player. It's got to do with him as a personality and how incredibly funny he is. Some of the stuff he says. I mean, some of the things he's done. I mean, he took what was the doll he took in, the stuffed animal he took to the interview in the middle of the playoffs. Like he's carrying out a stuffed animal for an interview. I mean, the guy's just right. And so he's a great hockey player, and he's pulled off some incredible Michigans or whatever you want to call it, but he's marketable because of of his personality, who he is, the way he speaks, the way he talks, how outgoing he is, and I mean, if I didn't see all of that, didn't get to know him like that because of, the way they market him and the fact that they took us into his house and,
that's right.
and he talking about his teammates and his players and all this kind of stuff. And there's no reason we shouldn't be doing that for female athletes everywhere in every single sport.
Yeah.
Right.
I totally agree. So we've gone from you being a player to dad to coach. So now to round it all out, because one of the best parts about this conversation that I've loved is the fact that we've been able to flip back and forth between sports, leagues, players so effortlessly in regards to the names of female athletes, male athletes, leagues, all these different things. And I truly believe that that's the way that it is. If we're talking about hockey, we should be talking about both sides of hockey. If we're talking about basketball, we should be talking about basketball on both sides of it. So I'm going to ask you one last question, and you can take as long as you want to think about it.
Okay.
Is how important do you think the role of boys, men, dads, uncles, grandpas play in the growth?
Oh my God. Okay, so that is massive, right? Like I don't think there's any way to judge how important that is, because and here's why. Because those are the people who have said for years, you're just a girl, or it's girls hockey, and that's the voices that need to change. Mm-hmm. Because when your dad, your grandparent, and they go and watch you play, whether you're a boy or girl, they're going to watch you as a father or a grandfather, and they'll celebrate you like you are a Stanley Cup champion, whether you're a boy or a girl. But those same parents or grandparents would walk in for years and see, it's girls hockey, right? And until those voices get changed, until the message from parents everywhere and grandparents everywhere, the message is that you're a hockey player or you're a baseball player, or you're a badminton player, regardless of your sex. Until that message changes, and you can be as good as anybody else, and you can achieve anything you want in that sport. If that's the message that has to change. So as a vital, I mean. You look at what's going on right now, because we could say the role that the mom has played in every young boy's hockey career, right? Because there's a huge push on that right now, talking about the role of the hockey mom, right? I can't remember the lady who's just got a book out now, and I can't remember her name. Anyway. But massive, right? Like, and it's true. I mean, the hockey mom has been right, but it's 1,000%. It's the hockey mom for her son. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, right? And so the dad, the grandparent, you name it, the uncle, whoever it is, I mean, I don't care whether you're a boy or a girl. Your dad, your grandfather has to be to look at you like you are an athlete, whether you're a boy or a girl, and that you can do it at any level.
I love you.
Hey, listen.
I love you.
Absolutely. I love you too, and I tell this to everybody who. I talk to when I talk about Tara and Addie, and I've told you the story before, especially at the wedding, and it's true. I said, Addie, I knew Addie before Tara knew Addie. And it's true. I did. It's a fact. And it's because I went to a POE camp, and you were the best player on the ice. And I wasn't looking at a girl. I was looking at the best hockey player on the ice.
Oh, stop.
I love you.
Cheers. I love you. I love you. Thank you so much. Thank you for
But Tara was the second best player.
Yeah, it's just second. Yep,
she didn't make the team, but that's because she was from the north. No, I'm just kidding.
That's the perfect way to stop. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. I'm happy that you were our first guy. It was amazing. And I think you said everything absolutely flawless. And
you know, Addie, what you're doing here is absolutely incredible. I mean, I learn so much from you every time I talk to you. I swear to God. I tell you all the mistakes I've made, right? And I continue to make them. But I learn so much from you every time I speak to you. It's absolutely amazing. And it's people like you are going to keep pushing this message. And there's so many good people out there right now who are doing it. And hopefully we're moving in the right direction. I'd just like to see us move a whole lot faster.
Yeah, I'm with you. We're going to do it. We're going to do it together. So thank you so much for being here. I love you. And if you have not, please follow us on Instagram. Hit subscribe on that YouTube button. Please, 5-star rate and review goes a long way. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Cowie, I'm coming at you. Final words, baby. And we'll see everybody next week.